Good morning, children. Welcome back to the social session. Children, in the previous class we were trying to understand about the Indian rivers and water resources. So under that we tried to understand about the different drainage systems that India has been classified into. We have seen the Himalayan river system as well as the peninsular river system. Under the Himalayan river system we have further divided it into Indus, Ganga and Brahmaputra. We have seen its origin, and later under the peninsular river system we have seen Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri and Mahanadi. Except Narmada and Tapati, remaining all the rivers in the country flow towards the eastern side and they join into Bay of Bengal. And after the Indian rivers, about the water resources we try to understand the usage of the water. We have seen the agricultural purpose of the water, the agricultural usage of the water, the domestic usage of the water, as well as the industrial usage of the water. Out of that, the amount of water available in a particular region or in a particular village, how to calculate it, we were trying to understand. So when it comes to the domestic purpose, children, we use the water for washing the clothes, for washing the utensils, for drinking purpose, for cleaning purpose, for many purposes we use water. So this usage of water has to be effectively planned in order to minimize the usage, and at the same time the government has to provide the certain amount of water irrespective of the income they earn at free of cost, a certain amount. That is the reason why Mission Bhagiratha has been adopted by the government of Telangana in order to provide the safe drinking water. And coming to the industrial usage of the water, industrial usage is considered as a third priority after agriculture and domestic use. Okay, we consider the providing of water to the industrial purposes as the third priority, but the conflict always rises that the amount of water being used by the industries and the amount of water being polluted because of these effluents being discharged by these industries is polluting the entire water resources. So this conflict always has been a dispute between the environment and the human beings over the industrial usage. If you consider the amount of the stock available in a particular region and how much amount has to be used effectively, then such kind of a conflict may not arise. For example, if you take a tank, okay, a overhead tank, you can calculate how much of stock is available. This tank, let us imagine as a village. There is a inflow, there is a outflow from the village, and what is available as a stock in the village is also can be calculated. How? So this inflow can be calculated. This inflow can be calculated as per the liters per minute, whereas the outflow can be calculated as liters per minute. So this, when you can calculate this both of inflow and outflow, what is originally available in the tank can be calculated. So through such kind of calculation, the stock availability can be effectively planned for the usage, and we can maximize the usage of the water, okay, and we can recharge the underground water so that the environmental crisis or the drought prone conditions can be faced very effectively, and you can provide the water for the future generations. The question that we face today is the depletion of the groundwater storages and a tendency not to care about the availability of the water for the future generations. If we keep on extracting or exploiting the water at the same time now itself, then what will be the availability of the water for the future generations? That's a big question mark. The annual inflow of the water stocks and recharging wells and rivers and tube wells is the water available for the use. Now we should keep our needs in the village in this range. In this range means the range at which the stock is getting recharged. Only that amount of the water should be used, and remaining should be kept as a stock. And when we dig into deeper aquifers, this is like mining water that has collected over the years, over thousands of years underground. We are exploiting that water also, and this is to be done only in extreme drought conditions or situations and replenished in the good rainfall. Again, it has to be recharged in the good rainfall year. We will come back to the question of sustainability in the later lessons, but remember that the stock of the water available underground has to remain as a stock, and what is being recharged should be used. But in the case of drought condition, you can use such water and it has to be recharged again when there is a good rainfall. But are we doing the same thing? No. We are exploiting whatever is available. Let the future generations suffer, let the environment suffer, but we have been exploiting the underground water for years together now. So one day there will be no water left over underground, and now the situation of environmental crisis is because of the decreasing underground water level. Now there is a case study which has been given over the share of river water, how to share the river water. There is a case study of Tungabhadra river basin. This is a case study to exhibit in order to explain about the water sharing among the states and among the different user groups of the catchment area. This is a big major issue of our country. Not only one river, many rivers conflict. Many rivers are facing the conflict of sharing the water. Many countries are also facing the issue of water sharing. So we should try to resolve such a conflict to be fair and just. How it should be just and fair for all, we should see that one. The water usage in the Tungabhadra river basin, if you see, Tungabhadra water is being shared by 3 states, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. And it is a tributary of a large river system of Krishna. Krishna's tributary is a river Tungabhadra. So it actually originates in the Western Ghats, and it has a catchment area of nearly 71,417 square kilometers, of which 57,671 square kilometers fall in the Karnataka itself, whereas the lower portion, very little portion, falls in the Telangana and Andhra Pradesh region. The Tungabhadra river basin is divided into 2 parts. The upper part, the upper portion and the middle catchment area falls in Karnataka, whereas the lower portion falls in the Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. According to the official statistics, the main land, the farmland is the main land coverage area of the Tungabhadra river basin. Others such as trees and groves, fallow land, mining, cultivable waste and permanent pastures, forests, natural vegetation cover remaining part of the area of this basin. Some of the territory is used for the storage of water, like tanks also. The lower portion of the basin is in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, which are characterized by the low rainfall region. Telangana, that is Mahbubnagar district, comes under this catchment area, whereas in Andhra Pradesh, Rayalaseema region comes under this region, this basin. So these both have low rainfall region and what we call drought prone districts. These are considered as, because of the low rainfall. So here some regions depend upon the rainfall as well as on the tube wells and underground water. Other areas depend on the surface flow of the river or the canals which from which the canals have been taken out from the river. They carry water from the dams built across the Tungabhadra. There is a lot of difference in the availability of the water in the upper portion as well as in the lower portion in these 2 regions. We shall study about this case study in detail in our next class. Until then, thank you children.